everyone. Welcome to The Reason We Learn. I'm your host, Deb Philman. At The Reason We Learn, we aspire to be part of the solution. The purpose of this show is to take a good, honest, potentially painful look at the way kids are being educated. We know we can do better, and this is where we'll talk about how. Let's learn something. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Sunday. Okay, so welcome to The Reason We Learn. I'm your host, Deb Philman. This show is Dissident Dispatch. If it's your first time tuning into the channel, please like, share, and consider subscribing so you can be notified when I make new content. This particular show is one I do each week to go over what has been submitted to me by whistleblowers, parents, teachers, people on the inside, behind enemy lines, so to speak, who dig up all kinds of things. They're digging it up from their kids' Chromebooks. They are following people on Twitter, their kids' teachers, administrators, the people who conduct professional development training, their superintendents, their school board members, you name it. There are parents out there and teachers who are committed to watching what's going on. And they let me know because I don't mind putting my name on this stuff. I don't mind saying, "Hey, look what we found." But for many of these people, that would be dangerous. In some cases, they could lose their jobs. It could bring backlash on their families or their children because they still have to attend these schools. It could cause all kinds of problems for them. They are not able to surface this on their own, or they don't mind surfacing it on their own, but they don't really have a platform for it. So they bring it to me and they say, "Deb, this is what I found. Can you go over it?" In some cases, they bring me things not knowing if it's anything. So you might come across something and say, I don't feel like this is good, but I don't really know. So they send it to me to find out if it's something they need to be concerned about, or if maybe it's fine. Okay. So each week I pull together as much as I possibly can without overwhelming myself and you, and bring it to you here on this channel. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And I have a lot of different things. There is a little bit of a theme going tonight, though. And it runs around something we haven't talked about a lot in a while, and that's critical race theory, BLM, the idea of how we teach race in the classroom and in our schools. We've been talking a lot lately about social emotional learning, but a lot of the things that are coming to the fore are once again about race. I think part of that has to do with the fact that the school year is about to begin again. There's been a lot of press around CRT over the last year and a half. And for a while, it started to die down a little bit because attention was brought to it. There were some pieces of legislation passed in an attempt to curb the teaching of race, what we call racial essentialism in the classroom, where we're having the kids focus on the race and divide by race and so forth. And things, got heated for a while, like, you're wrong, that we're not teaching CRT. Then it became, well, we are, but it's just the true history. It's not what you think it is. You're mischaracterizing CRT. And then it became more recently, we're not teaching it enough. And anybody against it is obviously a racist. And so that's basically where we are right now. We are now at a point where the people who formerly said, we're not doing that. What are you talking about? We're not teaching that in a classroom. You're insane. That's in college classes. Now they're saying we have to teach this in the classroom. The fact that people push back against it is proof that we have to teach it. They've forgotten that they weren't teaching it. And we are going to blanket everything with it. And as we discover all the different ways that they're putting this in the classroom and giving this to teachers and celebrating it, we're also discovering some interesting dates on documents. Go all the way back to like 2008. Would that surprise you? Things that, this is not only not new, but it goes back pretty far. And it goes back farther than that. But I'm saying we're finding things in the materials they're celebrating now, a year after they said they weren't doing it at all, talking about doing it, talking about how they're going to do it, and so on. I hope I can get to everything, but I'll shut up and start talking about the material. So the first thing that I want to show you is, and I'm going to be bouncing back and forth quite a bit, so please bear with me here. I want to show you something from, and this is the kind of thing that I get. Parents will send me screenshots because they're concerned that getting it out there will cause people to hide it. And that does happen. So let's say, or they're on their phone and they're just like, I got to get screenshot this. And it's Facebook or whatever. So this is an example. There's a Facebook group, Rethinking Schools. This is over 70,000 members, this group. Now, most of them are teachers. That's a lot of people. That's a big Facebook group. Okay. It's not some fringe organization. Rethinking Schools put this out. This year is the 100th anniversary of the birth of scholar activist. That's an interesting scholar activist Howard Zinn, author of A People's History of the United States. In each Rethinking Schools issue this year, we are publishing a Zinn at 100 essay. This is not nostalgia. We commemorate Howard Zinn because his writing continues to provide needed context for today's events. So the guy's dead, and they're still going back to Howard Zinn to talk about things today. Now, why would they be doing that? Well, because Howard Zinn's People's History is not so much about the details of U.S. history, because it's not. I mean, it covers some of them, but it does a whole lot of propagandizing. It's more Howard Zinn's method. It's the way he looks at historical events in that book and the way he always did in his teaching through that critical theory lens, though I don't know that he ever called it that, but he looks at it through the lens of the power and the privilege, that sort of Marxist lens of, who's the winner, who's the loser, fixed pie mindset. And so they're contextualizing today's events using that sort of Zinn method. And this is just how he did things. In June, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned women's legal right to abortion. That's not what they did. That's a classic Zinnism. Okay. We're going to take something that happened, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, a specific decision, and we're going to recharacterize it as women's legal right to abortion. Well, that's interesting because you see, we have a system called federalism in the United States. And while there is now no federally guaranteed right to abortion, in many states in this country, there still is a legal right to abortion within that state. Now, you might quibble with the term right. I would, because a right is something given to you by God or nature or whatever you want to call it, something inborn. So you never really had a right to a procedure. What you had was possibly bodily autonomy, something like that, which, by the way, is not codified. Otherwise, it wouldn't be mandating shots or masks or anything else that you have to do to your body because the government says so. So we don't have bodily autonomy in the United States, though we should. But there was never really a right to a procedure. Even with Roe v. Wade, there was a right within the first trimester to seek the procedure and that nobody could create sort of an undue burden on you or so forth. But in some states, what has happened now is actually the privilege, if you will, or the opportunity to seek an abortion has been made easier. The states that want abortion have the same ability now to make it unrestricted as the ones that want to ban it can ban it. That's all they did. Return it to the states. It's a whole other discussion about whether you agree with that or not, but that's not what happened. So you can safely assume they're teaching this in the schools just that way, that the Supreme Court overturned a women's legal right to an abortion. Nope, just the federal one. As we underscore in the editorial in this issue, this action attacks millions of women. Another Zinnism, decision we don't like, thing we don't like that happens in our government or whatever is an attack. It's violence, which fits neatly with the whole words of violence thing, and that's part of critical theory. Today and well into the future, and all of us who care, meaning if you don't agree, you don't care, another thing that Zinn used to do about reproductive rights. So they felt attacked. If you care about the issue, you've been attacked. Isn't that amazing? Everybody's a victim. Everybody gets to be a victim. All you had to do is care about this issue. Guess what? Congrats. You get virtue points. The overthrow of Roe v. Wade is just the latest example that Supreme Court decisions are not based on any disinterested interpretation of the Constitution, but represent political choices. Right. So unlike the original Roe decision. So unlike so many other decisions the Supreme Court has ever made, it's very, very difficult to find one that is completely neutral. And even if they didn't mean it that way, human beings are human beings. Hard to not be influenced by your views. Okay. That's how the dice are, rolled. Howard Zinn's column published in The Progressive in 2005 followed the confirmation of Chief Justice John Roberts, reminds us that the courts have never been on the side of justice, only moving a few degrees one way or the other unless pushed by the people. The Supreme Court in particular is not supposed to be on the side of justice. That's not its job. It is not a criminal court. That is not what it does. So again, Howard Zinn does this. He takes facts, he takes history, he frames it in a way that takes advantage of people's ignorance to make it sound like it's supposed to be something it was never supposed to be. The Supreme Court is not a court of justice. It is there to decide if the way we are meting out justice or making laws or whatever is in line with the Constitution. Is this law constitutional? Is it not constitutional? It's a thumbs up or thumbs down, pretty much, with a bunch of commentary. It's not there to mete out justice. It's not what they do. They're not supposed to make law and they're not supposed to adjudicate. It's not what they do. But if you were to read this, you'd think it is. So again, this is what's being taught in the classroom. So if your kids have a very confused idea about what the Supreme Court does, look no further, right? Yes, reproductive rights. That one is always fascinated me too, because you don't have, what do you mean reproductive? You can reproduce or you cannot reproduce. There you go. Those are your reproductive rights. If you take certain actions that might result in the reproduction of a human being, then what happens next is, again, a discussion about bodily autonomy, perhaps, but it's nothing to do with reproductive rights. That's how they get away with having special rights only around this one issue, but I get to stick a needle in your arm whether you like it or not. We don't want to talk about bodily autonomy because it's not what they really want. All right, so that's introduces you to rethinking schools and the way the editors think. They're very in line with Howard Zinn. It isn't that just fab. All right, so let's take a look at something else. And I'm sorry for the toggling. I kind of have no choice. I'm going to go to the Zinn Education Project just to show you what it looks like in case you've never seen it. It's something I strongly suggest you do take a look at because your kids are going to be taught a lot of this stuff. This is at zinnedproject.org. Teaching people's history. They make it out like this is it. This is American history. No. If you have not read Mary Grabar's book, Debunking Howard Zinn, I strongly recommend it. She was on this channel and she and I did an interview going over it, how she put the book together, his history, everything. Read the book. It's fantastic. And it will really help you understand why this is 100% propaganda. But the interview was also informative, and that's a show you can watch. So it's the 100th anniversary, I guess, of his birth or something. And so here we go. We've got a reparations bill that students can design. We've got, this is this teacher's compass. This is how they teach, sign up for updates, what they should know, but the struggle for the ballot. It's completely politicized on one side. 100% biased in favor of progressive politics, heavily Marxist. So when you talk about rethinking schools, that's what they're saying. All in on the progressive agenda. That's exactly what they're saying. To give you an idea, teachers can come here. As I said when I was at Moms for Liberty, teachers can come here and they can get lesson plans, completely made lesson plans. So let's take a look at the resource type. Let's say they want to come in here and look at some books, some nonfiction books, and they're going to make recommendations, and you choose by time period, theme, grades, etc. Well, let's see what they have for, no, that's resource type here, grade. So let's go down to grades K through 2 and see what's available. Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. First grade. exploring women's rights. It makes total sense. Don't you? They don't know what a right is. Is a woman still a thing, you guys? Is a woman, I mean, do we know what a woman is? Are we telling the first graders, these are now 7-year-olds, are we telling them what a woman is? Because last I checked, we weren't sure. So what exactly are women's rights? I'm just curious what those might be. And, we have this, a teacher's reflections about a curriculum unit on women's rights contextualizes the history of the feminist movement for first graders. First graders. They can't read. How are they going to, or maybe they can read some of that. I mean, I could read in first grade, but I'm saying they don't know any history at all. They don't know any history. Is this appropriate? How about, why is this the only place in Portland I see Black people teaching young children about redlining? Redlining, you guys. Do you know how old I was when I learned about redlining? Well, let's just say it was older than 8. These are extraordinarily complex ideas, and no, just no. All right. So I just want to make sure you understand that you're going to be seeing a lot of Howard Zinn. I could go through this all night and show you horrors unimaginable, but there it is. You can go peruse it for yourself. So that's the Zinn Education Project. So then I want to get back to the thing I was talking to you about of rethinking schools. Now, rethinking schools, I think it's them. They have if it's their planner, I might be getting two things confused, but I'm going to show you this planner anyway. This came out in, this was in Gateway Pundit. Okay. But this has been all over the place, this planner. This was back in 2018, but the planner, the new version of the planner is out and people are talking about it on Twitter, which is how it came to my attention. But this was just an article that said Portland school teachers given, they didn't have to buy it, social justice guides praising Islam, Che Guevara, Black Panthers. And they were given, this is from Education for Liberation Network. They were given a planner, a plan book for social justice teachers. Isn't that helpful? And so you might be thinking, well, Deb, like, what does the planner look like? Well, let's see. I'm going to go find some screens of some of the pages in the planner so that you can see what, and again, this is some of the stuff that was sent to me. First, let's talk real quick about what the EdLib, Education for Liberation Network is. I'll show you that first because this was also given to me, this screenshot. And this was fascinating. EdLib receives IRS tax-exempt status. They received it in 2018, only to have it automatically revoked for failure to file tax returns in 2020. Awo Ikakor REA, and this person comes up a lot, by the way. Go follow this person on Twitter. And Thomas Niku, I'm going to get it wrong, are EdLib's executive directors. Prior to joining EdLib, R.A. Price was critical race theory-inspired anti-racist organizer and trainer for the left-wing People's Institute for Survival and Beyond. The People's Institute. Anytime you see the People's something, think communist, because it's, the People's Republic of China, Korea, whatever. The People's is, there it is. So former Education for Liberation Network board member Joel Lehi Organista pleaded guilty to 2 felony charges for production and distribution of child pornography in January 2022. That's this year. He was removed from the board following his arrest. Okay, so that's that. That's just a little bit on the people who brought us the planner, the awesome, so awesome planner. Now let me go find the wonderful screenshots of the planner. Let's see. And rethinking schools is a whole other, part of that. There are so many screenshots, you guys. So that's part of, oh, here we go. Here we go. And I'm going to still have to toggle because there's so many. All right. So this is Planning to Change the World, a plan book for social justice teachers. Now, as I said, the new edition of this is out. Like, this is the 2018-2019, but teachers are online right now on Twitter talking about, I just got mine. Did you get yours? I can't wait. It's my favorite. I use it every year. So they're really excited about this planner. Plan book for social justice teacher. Planning to Change the World is a plan book for educators who believe their students can, will, and already do change the world. So mom and dad, if you thought they were going to just go into school to change their own little world, like, one reading lesson at a time, multiplication tables, whatever, multiplication stuff. No, that's not what they mean. They mean the actual world. They know nothing about that they just arrived in 6 and 7 and 8 years ago. Is designed to help teachers translate their vision. Their vision. Did y'all think you had a vision, mom and dad? Did you think it was your vision or your kid's vision or anybody else? No, it's their vision. People you don't know. You don't know it all. To translate their vision of a just education. You might want to know what that is. You might want to sit down at the beginning of the year and say, so teach, what is your vision of a just education? I'm all ears. Please tell me how you envision social justice education. By the way, I'm not joking. You need to be having this conversation. Now, you might say, well, Deb, sure, I didn't say go in with your Trump hat on or, wearing necessarily your Moms for Liberty t-shirt and, carrying the American flag. You got to be a little bit, come on, guys. Come on, guys. I'm not talking about self-censorship. I'm just saying use your wits. Go in and you say, so I've been following along online. I've been seeing a lot of discussion about social justice. And I was just so curious how you envision it in your classroom. What do you see? What's your vision for a just education for my child? And then stop speaking. See what they say. If they won't talk to you, if they won't say anything, if they're sort of catching on and like, well, it's all spelled out in the state standards. I looked and I didn't see that. Well, it's on our equity plan. Yeah, I looked at that. I didn't see what you think, though. See, I want to know what you think. You will be spending many hours with my child, when I won't be there. And it's really important to me to understand your vision. I have a vision. I'm curious what your vision is. And if they still won't answer you, they won't talk about it, they're hemming in their heart. I think they will. I think some of them have gotten to the point where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you all about it. It's like I said, if you're nice enough, if you go in and I'm not saying kiss their, what, I'm just saying, just go in and say, I'm curious what your vision is of a just education. They'll probably hold forth. You may or may not be able to tell by the classroom. They're probably not going to put up the majority of their flair for parent-teacher night. They're going to wait till after y'all are, this is so great. It's just like when I was in school. You're going to have such a wonderful year, you say to your child, and you go on your merry way, and then up go the rainbows. Up go the flags, up go the, whatever the little what color are you charts and the gender corn and all that other stuff that might go up after you've left. I don't know. It depends how proud the teacher is of this stuff and what district you live in. But if it's not there, don't assume it won't be there the next day. Okay. And you also want to be asking them how they handle discipline in the classroom. What are the standards of behavior? I mean, it amazes me, ceaselessly amazes me how many parents don't ask these questions. They think, well, the school had, no, your kid is in a room, door closes. It's them and the teacher. The horror stories I've been getting all week from parents because an individual teacher bullied the living daylights out of their student, out of their kid. School was oblivious, had no idea that was going on. You need to know this person, who this person is. Okay. And I'm not even talking about the worst of the worst they could do. I'm talking about just being a person who's somewhat hostile to your child because they're male, because they're a lighter shade of tan, shall we say? Anyway, so this is, they're an imaginative and innovative idea in the field of education. Oh, it's imaginative. It imagines a country that is very different from the one I live in. Anyway, so then moving on to some more stuff from the planner. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, here's an example. Oh, wait, no, that's from this lady who burst into tears seeing the Wakanda Forever trailer. The stuff that people put out there. Okay, here we go. You got to follow these teachers on Twitter, you guys. You really have to. They don't even think to hide their stuff. All right, so here we go. First, a note about the dates featured in this book. There are so many events and people that could be included in a planner like this. We had to find a way to narrow, I bet you did, to narrow the possibilities. So for this calendar, we chose significant anniversaries and birthdays, which generally means, with few exceptions, anniversaries, birthday that fall on the 10-year mark. So they're just telling you this kind of stuff. And they have the weekly planning pages include social justice conferences, social justice birthdays and historical events, religious and federal holidays. Well, that's nice of them to include that. Essential question. A question you can use to start discussions with your students. They're spoon feeding it to them, right? And then we have a quote of the week from AOC. This one says, I just hope that more people will ignore the fatalism of the argument that we are beyond repair. We are not beyond repair. We are never beyond repair. Apparently, we are. If you think that things are just as bad, if not worse, than during the civil rights era, I'd say that's pretty bad. And they'd say that's pretty much beyond repair. It also happens to not be true. But, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. What they mean is, little kid, you can go fix it. You can do it. All these other adults totally failed, but you, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, you can do it. You can right the wrongs that your parents and your grandparents couldn't. Of course, they assume the kid sitting there in the class is not going to go, you're older than I am. In fact, you know what? You might be close to my mom's age. How come you're not at fault for all this mess? And then, some of them will say they are. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It is my generation's fault that we did not fix it for you. But now you need to do the work, or I'm doing the work. I'm trying so hard to make it up to you. But those people out there in the world, including your parents, they're the baddies. Okay, that's the implication, just so you know. And then here, when you see these icons, turn to page 124, where you will find a list organized by date of online lesson plans, articles, videos, and other resources that you can use to teach about that event or person. The resources are coded. Elementary, middle, high school, whatever. All of the resources included are listed thematically, etc. So if your teacher gets this planner and they have access to all these online resources, whether they bought it themselves or the school district bought it, you will not see any of this. This is not specified in the standards. You don't find materials and standards. This is not going to be discussed by your school board. This is it. The teachers are going online and getting the lessons to put into the classroom in front of your kid. And unless you follow the teacher and you go point blank ask the teacher and you're every day in that Chromebook, there's no other way you're going to know. And that is why so often the school board is looking at you like deer in headlights. Like, do you know what they're talking about? Did we buy that? I don't remember. That's not on our list. Where was that? What? And that's what they'll say. That's not in the classroom. What they mean is, we didn't put it in the classroom. But there's no law that I'm aware of that says that teachers can't bring their own materials into the classroom. And they are often, if not always. I would go with almost always. They are. The standard simply says teacher will teach U.S. history. Teacher will teach about the revolution. Teacher will teach about this. The students will be exposed to X. But that doesn't say they're not going to go to the Howard Zinn project to get it. There's no specification. It says it must be this textbook. So even in those states where they're like, we approved a textbook, doesn't mean the teacher's using it. Doesn't mean they're relying on it. Doesn't mean they're not annotating it. Doesn't mean they're not supplementing it. Doesn't mean they're saying, compare and contrast, this is the white racist garbage and here's the stuff I want you to learn. You have, unless you're literally looking at the assignments every single day and quizzing your kid every single day. And let me ask you, do you want to work that hard? Do you want another full-time job going over all this stuff and like coming in behind the teacher? See, I didn't like doing that. I did do it. Hated it. That's why my kids are no longer in the schools. So this is hard work, you guys, staying on top of this. So if they have, and this is just one example. I mean, your teacher may not have this planner. It might have some other planner. So there's that. Let's see if we can find some more lovely pages. Oh yes, this is a good one. As a little inspiration. I know how planners have like inspirational pages. How do you feel about this one? Yeah. The revolution has always been in the hands of the young. The young always inherit the revolution. Communist fist. So inspirational for your teacher. Definitely. Why don't we just say the quiet part out loud? We're recruiting for the revolution. welcome to America. I mean, what happened to we're not going to spend our tax dollars on fomenting revolution. We're not actually sending our kids to school to learn how to be cannon fodder. But apparently, Huey Newton's a hero that's going to motivate your teachers. Isn't that awesome? I know I'm really excited about that. And of course, we want to make sure that our students are incentivized. So we give them some charming little awards like this one. This is fun. Wouldn't you be excited if your child came home with the Freedom Fighter Award? Yes, with the fist. This recognition goes to who stood up for freedom and justice by, I would love to know what gets filled in there. And then here's the quote. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. I don't know if you've heard, we have this thing called the Bill of Rights. You are free. You are free. Or at least theoretically, you're free. Except for that compulsory school they force you to go to and the courses they force you to take and the truancy you'll have if you don't show up and the prison your parents will go to if they don't make other arrangements that are suitable enough for the state's liking. Freedom. Yeah, we have nothing to lose but our chains. Okie doke. And then the Knowledge is Power Award again, that goes to not the kind of knowledge that you're thinking of. Knowledge is power is the knowledge they want you to have. And this is the last thing from the planner I'm going to show. I want to zoom in before. Ooh, that might not work. I want this to be legible, even though it's kind of small print. Okay, here we go. And this is super fun. Okay. Introduction. Planning to Change the World is a plan book for teachers who believe their students can. We talked about this, meaningful change. It is produced by the Education for Liberation Network. You know, that one that had the pedo guy. Yeah, that one. It is, and it's in partnership with Rethinking Schools, which is what we're getting to next. That I knew they were connected. The information and ideas featured on its pages come from teachers, college students, and activists who, like you, struggle daily to put their values into practice. I'm sorry, hold the phone. It is not their province to put their values into practice. Not these kind of values, not their political values. Okay? Teachers do not have unlimited free speech in the classroom. It is not their political playground, nor is it their values playground. I could not walk into a public school today and start teaching Atlas Shrugged or Ayn Rand or talk about objectivism. I could not do that. We couldn't do a study on Christopher Hitchens and his views on atheism. No, nor could a Christian teacher go in and pull out the Bible and say, I'm struggling to live my values and I'm going to bring the Bible into class. And we're doing morning devotional and we are praying. And that is what we're doing because my struggle is to live by my values. Go teach at a Christian school where you can do that. And that will be celebrated. So if these people want to go form their own private schools with their own money and the parents who want this garbage want to go take their kids and pay for it, it's America. You're entitled to be wrong. You can have the worst ideas in the world. You just got to pay for them and go over there. You do not get to use our tax dollars to teach a completely separate culture, a completely separate set of values from the ones enshrined in the Constitution of the United freaking States. If it's public dollars, I don't get to teach mine and they don't get to teach theirs. The only values that I can teach, which happen to coincide with the Constitution, are those that are consistent with the Constitution, that I actually do value individual liberty. I value independence of thought. I value freedom of speech. I value these things. There's no struggle. There should be no struggle. If a teacher's struggling to do that, oh, that's right, they are. Go talk to Frank McCormick. Go talk to Ramona Bessinger. Go talk to, who's the teacher? If Tiffany's here, she'll know. There are so many teachers who are struggling to uphold freedom of speech, not just theirs, but their students. Because they don't have unlimited free speech, but they're struggling to have their students have free speech. But I don't think we're a racist country by and large. I think we've made progress. You can't say that. You can't say, I think, men and women are both essential to the functioning of our country and men are not inherently bad and white people are not inherently racist. And you can't say that in America's classrooms today. You don't dare. as a student or a teacher. But their struggle, nobody cares about their struggle, but this struggle. Okay. As educators, our vision of teaching for liberation, oh, there we go. Teaching for liberation, that's Paulo Freire right there. Teaching for liberation presupposes your child is living under tyranny. What is the tyranny? Well, it's not the tyranny of the Constitution or America or white. It's not even white supremacy. It's just the fact that there's people who came before. There are traditions. There's something old and they're new. The tyranny is they don't get to throw it all off and start over again. That we considered there to be some value in holding on to some of the stuff that we had because, it works, or people, worked hard to develop it, fought for it, died for it, whatever. No, liberation literally means, like what Mao would have said, throw off the old, replace with the new. You have to have perpetual struggle. And the thing that's so sad about it is you're never done, because tomorrow, what was yesterday is now old, got to get rid of it. And the next day, well, that's old, got to get rid of it. You're constantly trying to liberate yourself from the thing that you might have found some stability in, some structure, some guiding principles for life. Nope, can't have that. Overthrow it. You're in constant state of turmoil and revolution. Otherwise, they have no purpose. No purpose. Destruction is the order of the day. Sorry, deconstruction. Deconstruction. Let's see. It's designed to help teachers translate their visions of a just education into concrete classroom activities, not their job. It's both a daily reminder of the importance of teaching for justice. And is that really what it is? No. A collection of tools to help you do just that. Planning to change the world is packed with important social justice, blah, blah, blah. It also connects you to national community of educators who are interested in social justice teaching. In this book, we hear from teachers like you who care about their students, respect them. No, you don't respect them. That's a lie. You don't respect them. These children have parents they love. They have grandparents they love. They may even already love their country. You have no idea. They have a faith they love. They have a philosophy they've been brought up in to the point of time where they went to school. And guess what? They leave school. They don't live there. They go home. They go to Sunday school. They go to, they go to Hebrew school. They do other things. They play sports. They hang out with their family. You do not respect them when you disrespect their parents. You do not respect them when you disrespect their individual culture. Your assumptions about their culture, whether what's good, what's bad, what you want them to keep, what you don't, is grossly disrespectful. Don't sit there and tell me you respect them when you demonstrably do not. And then we hope is each year, blah, blah, about the organization, fiscal sponsor, the Chicago Freedom School, and our distributor, Rethinking Schools. And now we're going to get into Rethinking Schools a little bit because I don't want to keep you guys here all night long. So now let's see, we'll go to, here's the new one. Oh no, this was 20. I'll show you a picture of the 2021 one. It's not this year's, but here's a screenshot of the 2020-2021 one. Defund the police right on the cover. We still have the fist in the air now with the pencil. Okay. Kids want climate justice. Look at all of this. Okay. So this was that one. This was from that year. And then we go to, here's another charming page. Don't you want your American public school teachers having this as the inspiration in their planner? I am not a liberator. Liberators do not exist. The people liberate themselves. Well, you liberated a lot of people from their lives at the business end of a gun. This man personally executed thousands of people. He was an executioner. That's how he rose to fame. But yeah, definitely. I definitely want the taxpayer-funded teachers, championing Che Guevara. Because again, remember, guys, if the teachers are looking at that and saying, oh, how inspirational it's in my planner, do you think they're hiding that from the students? Do you think they're not talking about Che as this great guy, as this great philosopher? Come on. So now we're going to get to the Rethinking Ed stuff. I've got to go down to where it is. There's so much stuff. All right. I think I put it all in here. Or did I? I had all kinds of, there was like a big thread that I did. And I wanted to go back to it because It contained all the stuff. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. So, here's Twitter. Plan to change the world. And this is the Dear Educators, it's finally here. We see you, we hold you, we love you. How about those children, huh? No, it's the educators. Planning to Change the World editorial team, please share your comments, reflections, and wonderings below. Here we go. 2022, 2023. Order 10 or more copies for $13 each. Use the code at checkout. July 19th, this was posted. Planning to change the world. Let's see what I'm going to put this sound on so we can see what they're saying about it. So exciting. I hope we can put the sound on. Oop, nope. Hang on. I got to open this up differently. This happens. Does it ever happen to you guys? Or Twitter won't play it? Why isn't it playing it? Play. Maybe there's no sound. Maybe it's just video. Regular price, $18. Why are they showing us a video? This does not need to be a video. Maybe, oh, I know why. So you can't, this is a plan book for school-based, home-based, and community-based educators who believe that young people can, will, and already do change the world, blah, blah. We already read that. And then we have can't wait. So exciting. 55 likes, 32 retweets, 7 quote tweets. Oh, let's take a look at some of the, oh, no quote tweets. I guess I can't see them. But there it is. Plan to change the world. So then going back to, here is this. This person is an educator, writer, cultural worker. Tweets are mine, so are yours. She, her, blah, blah. Hands in the air to all who wove this year's planning to change the world. And for Carla's words of honor, blah, blah. Bless the organizers who lead us each together. The EdLib plan book is starting to ship out. Can't wait to start seeing it in the hands and on the desks and in the bags of our beloved community, etc. There it is. They're so excited. Look at the cover. Okay. And love you so much. Yeah, it's awesome. We're so excited. Okay, we got it. That's what else did I have for rethinking schools? There was more. Hang on. Here we go. Erica Corbin. She's charming. She has a lot. If you follow her, you'll see a lot of interesting tweets. This plan book was one of my all-time favorite resources for DEI work in schools. 10/10 would buy for everyone. 10 out of 10. Give it to a fierce educator in your life. And there's Rethinking Schools. Don't tempt me with a good time. Thanks for the recommendation. Just pre-ordered my copy. I mean, they love this thing. They think it is absolutely fab. And so then we're getting to, there's more stuff that I want to show you, which I will. But is that all I have from Rethinking Schools? I could have sworn there was one gigantic thread that I did a while back about rethinking schools. And I want to find it because there's a lot of stuff, but maybe not. Maybe I'm misinformed, but there was a lot of stuff where they went through and show, oh no, I know what it is. I sent away for the Rethinking Schools materials. That's what it was. So I signed up on their website and said, send me the sample materials. You know, you put in like your email address. Okay. This is what they sent me. This is their sample that they're sending out when you give your email address. Teaching for Black Lives. Oh, this is, remember the thread I did was about all these books and their bestsellers, but this one gives you the idea anyway. A note on pedagogy. It directly pushes back on the dominant and harmful narratives that dehumanize Black people by providing educators with critical perspectives. That's critical social justice, critical race theory. Anytime you see critical, that's what they mean. On the role of schools in perpetuating anti-Blackness. Anti-Blackness, for those of you who are not dialed in, is whiteness. There's no specific anti-Blackness thing. The fact that they call something whiteness, there's a thing they call whiteness, and it is by definition in their world anti-Blackness. The existence of it is against them. It's always a binary. It's not that, you know, if you're a Black person and you do anything they deem white, you're anti-Black. That's how they get away with saying that people like my friend Charles Love or Adam Coleman or any of these other people are anti-Black, even though they are Black. Because according to them, the fact that they do anything or are friends with or work with or are perfectly happy to read books by or champion white people or, even just being friends with James Lindsay, they're anti-Black. That's how it works. So anti-Blackness is just disagrees with us. And they call that whiteness. I mean, there is no such thing as whiteness. That just disagrees with us equals whiteness. And then they also say what it looks like to celebrate, affirm, and humanize Black people in curriculum. This is so demeaning, in my opinion. Everything they claim humanizes Black people is really just treating them like victims, treating them like they got to get the white people out of the way in order to be successful. So we have to say, how does the erasure of Black history and the failure to center Black brilliance in the curriculum contribute to school to prison pipeline? You know what contributes to the school to prison pipeline? Not teaching kids to read. 70% of the inmates in most prisons are functionally illiterate. If you want to get rid of the school to prison pipeline, you will teach the children to read. You don't centering Black brilliance, do it in the individual. And how about all of the children, not just the Black ones? Right? Center their brilliance as your work. But that's not what they do. Black brilliance, people who lived and died long ago. I know you can't read the book yourself. I'll read it to you. I'll put up posters. We'll color it in the coloring book. There, we centered Black brilliance. Aren't you smarter? Now you're not going to go to prison. That's not how it works. So let's keep going. We have, this is, they want to sell you some books. What books did they want to sell you? Teaching a People's History of Abolition in the Civil War. This comes from the Howard Zinn. A People's History, that's what they mean. Rethinking Ethnic Studies. This is the same people rather, in charge of ethnic studies in California. So when people ask me, why does it matter, Deb? Why are you covering California? It's just California. No, it isn't, because groups like Rethinking School publish their materials for consumption in the rest of the country. They just happen to have gotten it accepted as part of the standard curriculum in California, but coming soon. And this is how they do it. They use it. They do that generative conversations, generative stuff in the classroom. The teachers like it. The teachers promote it. The teachers demand it. Then they get the parents saying it, some parents, tiny little handful of parents going to school boards and everything, demanding it. And suddenly it becomes what the state says we got to have because, these 20 people are demanding it. And if you're not paying attention, you're like, wait, when did that happen? Wait, where was I? What? How did we get this ethnic studies program? This is how. But it started in California. Rethinking multicultural education around communism. And then we have, teaching and learning in the pandemic. This is their magazine. Then they have a magazine that you can subscribe to. So helpful. This also came in my packet. I was so excited. How one elementary school sparked a citywide movement to make Black students' lives better. They want the teachers reading this. Do you notice anything about all these teachers, the t-shirts, what they're wearing? The fist. The fist is an ever-present symbol. It's either a fist or a tree. Either way, it's communist symbology. Okay? And it's BLM. So now we go through this whole, a conscious party of resistance, courage, and community uplift. I mean, they're very religious in the way they talk about things. Everyone was there in celebration, proclaiming that, yes, despite the racist and right-wing attacks, despite official cancellation. Do I need to remind you again, these are teaching materials going out for professional development, free over the internet. Just hit your email and tell us where to send it. And you can read this stuff and consume it and be propagandized and decide that this is the way, this is what we do. As part of this action, C, also developed a 3-point policy proposal that would serve as an ongoing campaign. So then you go to the teachers and you say, if you're not doing these 3 things, you're not really supporting Black lives in the classroom. See how they do that? The Mott and the Bailey. So they connect it. Do you support Black lives? Of course I do. Do you support them in the classroom? Yes. Why would I not do that? Okay, so you're supporting ethnic studies in all the schools. You're replacing zero tolerance discipline with restorative justice practices. You're detracking classes within school to undo the racial segregation. That presupposes you agree that it exists, and so on and so forth. By the way, if you set up your affinity groups while you're opposing segregation, do you have a brain cramp yet? but this is what you do. And these people, okay, yeah, I do the 3 things. Oh, now that's how I support it. And then all of this, Black Lives Matter at school today, while the educators lunch were quite aware the institutions of racism remained intact. Like it's never changed. It's never gotten any better. Oh, tragedy. Here's a handout they gave me that I could, use in class. Use this in class. The name, the date, class period. Kids gonna be great on probably. Find someone who supported the study, the Tuskegee syphilis study. So you got to look it up, I guess. Why did they support the study? Find someone who was hurt. How was this person hurt? Now, mind you, I want kids to learn about the Tuskegee experiments in high school, not in elementary, not in middle school. They don't know enough. This is heavy stuff. Find someone who benefited from it. Who is it? How did the blah, blah, find a doctor, all these things. And then they go through. Not all these questions are bad. It's all about the timing and the framing. What is the context, right? And then how are we teaching this? And to whom are we teaching this? This is pretty heavy stuff. It should be mostly in high school, and I would prefer it not to be in conjunction with a curriculum that is this. Black is beautiful. Again, racial essentialism. I'm not saying Black is anything other than beautiful, but why not people are beautiful? Why not human beings are beautiful? Why not we don't need to single out a specific thing? Now, if you're saying the students will otherwise feel ugly, I would beg to differ. Again, it's not 1960. It's not even 1970 or 80. You can see many, many, many examples of validation without even thinking about it that Black people are considered beautiful in our society. I don't think you're going to find a groundswell of mainstream thought that says anything other than that. From all sides of the political spectrum, too. So this is kind of, again, reinforcing this, nothing's ever gotten better. We need to assert that we're also beautiful. Like, if you say so, but I think the implication is not even also, it's instead of. We need to teach our students that Black is beautiful. Who's teaching them otherwise? Where are they getting these messages? And why are you so sure? Ask first. And then they come to, I noticed the pictures only had Black. I noticed a Black bird. I noticed that they're saying what the kids are saying. And this is their Black is beautiful lesson. And then that's something else I want to show you guys after. Anyway, so that's that. Now I'm going to go to something else that this goes back to 2008. Remember I said I'd show you things that are old? Okay. Where does this all come from? How did this happen? Well, it's not new. We've known that, but this is 2008. Education for Democracy. See the hands? See, before it used to be all the hands, and now we just have the one fist. And civil rights and social justice, the path to engagement and transformation. Did you know? Oh, look. Oh, Rethinking Schools. Oh, look. Education for Liberation Network. 2008. There it is. This has been a long time coming, you guys. They've been saying this stuff. Look at this. Paulo Freire is listed. Here we go, 1998. Each family school teacher has dozens of books and articles for particular units, et cetera, et cetera. Civil rights. This is the kind of stuff that they have been celebrating, teaching in professional development courses, giving awards for these coalition of essential schools. You might wonder, well, who were in the coalition? I don't know. Could have been your school. Did you know? Yes, this is a really good point. Thank you, Wikipedia snippet. This was the year of too big to fail. Remember that? We were so busy worrying the economy was going to collapse. We were worried about money. We were worried about all these things. Meanwhile, over in education land. So always when your attention is being directed over here by something really huge, make sure you wonder what you're missing, especially in education. Because if you go back through history, you will find at these times where there was some big thing dominating our consciousness, something really big was going on in education while they're like, quick, while they're not looking, let's do this. Okay. Sometimes they were really upfront about it. Common Core. Education and Democracy, Back to the Future. Okay, they have this. I know it's 2008, but the prospect of a new administration and a new U.S. Department of Education has me thinking about 2001. I have to admit that when No Child Left Behind was passed 7 years ago, I paid little attention. And see, they're going and say, let's not do that again. They learn from those mistakes and then they turn it around and do this garbage. Are we learning? We who oppose this? And then they have all kinds of other projects. These guys they never stop. They never stop creating new ways to rethink education to advance this one goal, which in a nutshell is rethink the United States of America, right? Fundamentally transform. Remember who said that? Barack Obama. We're going to fundamentally transform the United States of America. So this is one of the things they did. This is all in 2008. All in 2008. It's not brand new. It's not some sudden thing that happened during COVID. It's just that's when we started to realize what was going on. Now let's think about that too. It's 2022. Go back to 2008. The kids who were getting this in the classroom are now your child's teacher. See how that works? They went into teaching because of this. Now, I'm going to kick out of that so I don't look like a spaz hunting around for other things because I want to make sure I'm getting the right stuff. There was just so very much of it. I mean, it's really quite insane. I want to go and show you something from the person that I mentioned who was putting all this together. Remember this lady with the name? I told you I was going to botch it like crazy. Okay, so here is this person. Remember Ms. or Dr. Okai Kor Irie Price? I'm butchering it. I do apologize. I don't try to do that to people's names. We are looking forward to hearing her at the upcoming CBCE conference hosted by Dr. Rima. This is what she has to say. This is current. This is July 27th. The same person who put together that planner, okay, helped put together is behind that education liberated thing. Designing for critical rehumanization in our classrooms. What were they before? Formal and traditional schools have proven to be sites of Black suffering. Now, here's where I have trouble. I mean, trouble that I haven't talked about. She's not 100% wrong. Hear me out. Black students, going back to when schools were integrated and forcibly so, have suffered differently than other students because of a wide variety of factors, not least of which is the self-consciousness of white liberals who were tripping over themselves to desegregate and, we're going to do everything, and didn't respect the fact that Black parents and Black students had been getting an education in their segregated schools with, maybe not as nice a school, not as nice materials, et cetera, and so forth, but they were focusing pretty hard on education, on the nuts and bolts of it. And they became obsessed with just this desegregation, integration, let's get everybody in the same buildings, whatever, not really thinking about what that would do psychologically, emotionally. It's a good goal. It's a worthy goal to work towards, but it wasn't handled organically, was it? Hi, people who hated you yesterday and didn't want you sitting next to them in class, you're sitting next to them today. That's pretty traumatic. It's probably was a bad idea to go about it exactly like that. And it's not like the kids necessarily were asked. It's one thing to say, you now have the opportunity to go to this school across town should you wish it so. It's another thing to say, we're sticking you on a bus and you're going to sit for half an hour and you're going to go clear across town to where you don't live to go to school with a bunch of people who don't want you there because they didn't change their hearts and minds overnight. So that's a true thing. The other thing is all of these efforts to fix things and, let's fix housing. Here's some public housing. Let's fix, we'll give you this welfare and that welfare and the other welfare. In comes Lyndon Johnson with all of these programs that disproportionately affected Black people and poor whites, but disproportionately urban Blacks. And this further degraded the education situation. Their literacy rates went down. This so false to think that it's just been flatlined all the way. It was higher. It's gone down. So when I look at this, I completely disagree with their methodology. I completely disagree with their messaging, their approach, their philosophy of life, 100%. But I struggle because there's a kernel of truth to the notion that schools, these factory schools, have not been good places to support these kids, to support any kids really, but it has been disproportionately. Now, having said that, as I said, I think every single solitary thing they've done allegedly to improve it has made it worse. Every single thing has made it worse. And I would go so far as to say that some of the people who've been involved have probably capitalized on how bad it is for money, for fame, and for power. They don't really want to fix the problem, because if they wanted to fix it, they would have fixed it. And you know how I know that? Because we had Marva Collins in Chicago. Marva Collins, who took the least of these, who took the students nobody wanted. Students were literally kicked out of other schools until they can't learn. One girl was so straight up retarded. She can't learn. Marva Collins took them in, and they were about like 98% Black. These kids, by the end of a couple years, were reading Plato, Aristotle, Shakespeare, using her method. The least of these. The kids, like I said, that the integration was supposed to fix. Somehow magically you were going to do better sitting next to somebody who didn't look like you. Diversity of the, the color wheel magically makes you better academically. No, it doesn't. That, don't hear me saying I'm supporting segregation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the solutions they came up with weren't solutions. They were cosmetic, they were political, they were financial. There were a lot of things, but they weren't really solutions, and they've just continued to double down. And I personally think she is too. I personally think that she's, designed and committed to radically and unapologetically affirming the dignity of all Black children. Nobody is suggesting that they shouldn't have dignity. Right now, the dignity of all children is being assaulted with SEL programs. That all children are being disrespected, not just Black children. So one of my qualms is, not only are you not specifically helping historically marginalized and underserved children, but you are now making it bad for the kids who used to be okay served. Not well, but okay. So if the way we're going to achieve equity is everybody sucks, like everybody's getting a terrible experience, everyone is being dehumanized, this isn't how we do it. But that's her approach, centering Black children in education. I would think it had more integrity if she wanted to say, we literally need to set up some private academies that are like the Black colleges, explicitly for Black students who voluntarily want to go there. That would be perfectly fine with me. It's the United States of America. You should be able to put yourself into any kind of group that you want, as long as it's private and it doesn't have tax dollars. And I know that we do publicly fund the historically Black colleges, and that's a whole other conversation. But if that's what you want to do on a private basis, and you think you can separately meet the needs of those kids like Marva did, knock yourself out. But no, you don't go into a public school classroom with taxpayer dollars and center children by race. That is racist. That is not the way to go about doing it, because it's not the fact that they're Black that they're having problems today. Okay, that's not the problem. The problem is that the problems that they were having because they were Black 50 and 60 years ago were addressed incorrectly. It's a completely separate problem. And like I said, that has affected lots of children. So that's one of the ones that I wanted to show you. Yeah, it's completely bigoted to say what she's saying, and I don't agree with it. Another thing that, let's see if I can get to the rest of this. With the stuff about other things I wanted to show you. Okay, so now what I want to show you is the importance of following teachers. I'd already talked to you about teachers, how important it is to follow them on the internet and see what they're doing that is arguably racist. And I'm going to bring up what I hope is some examples. Very often they'll tweet out opinions, and you'll be able to go back in their tweet history and find things that make it pretty clear this is something they've been doing for a very long time. It's not new, and it's something you probably should raise to the, somebody's attention, because they shouldn't be teaching. They shouldn't have access to kids and have these kinds of racist and biased approaches to things. And I got to find the right examples. There's so many things here. Oh, wait, here it is. Okay. So this woman, her name is Tolly Saltz. And this is just, again, an example of why it's important. So here she is. And this is just her in a mask. Notice her mask has the fist. Okay. But what I want to show you is I want to go back to Twitter and show you the kinds of things that in the past she has commented on. And you will see that this is a pattern for her. This is a thing that she does. Is it her or was it a different one? No, it's her. Okay. So this is, okay. This goes back to 2020, where Jesse Sengel was talking about a young adult author whose career was completely torpedoed. I was furious about this story. If you guys weren't following it at the time, I was furious because this author was, her name was Jess Cluess or whatever. She was writing a book that I actually thought was going to be a great book. She was forced to apologize. She wrote an apology, and a bunch of people, including this person, Shay Martin, another teacher you should, follow, marked it up like she was a fifth grader. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They don't mark up fifth grader stuff this way. I'm a tutor. I would love to see teachers in ELA mark up their students' work like this to give them tips for writing and grammar. They don't. It's like, oh, you did the assignment, check A. They treated her like somebody would have treated a fifth grader 50 years ago. They don't do this anymore. Dear Jessica, solid first attempt. Please see feedback and resubmit. XOXO, how condescending. But what's notable is Tolly Saltz, the same one with the fist mask and everything. She inserts herself into this back in 2020. You have received a beautiful and free gift here from the amazing Shay the Scholar and so many colleagues of blah, blah, blah. This is a gift. Listen and learn to so many who can assist in your growth, which is a non-negotiable, especially for anyone in publishing. Now, I want you to take this mindset, this arrogant, presumptuous, judgmental, insufferable, holier than thou person, and stick her in a classroom. And what do you think is going to happen to a student who takes issue with any of the claims she makes about social justice? You think that's going to go over well? No, it's not. So that's why you need to follow the teachers, superintendent, principal, librarian, school board members, the whole 9 yards. You got to follow them and do it any which way you can. They don't know your name. Don't do it with your name. Come on. Don't comment. Don't take screen grabs. Don't retweet. Don't like. Don't share. I mean, if you're trying to bring it to someone's attention, screen grab it, put it in a file, and decide what you're going to do with it after you collect critical mass. Okay? Don't react. Don't be reactive. This is a learning experience for you. Because what you really need to be thinking about is, if I start seeing critical mass and my kids' teachers and the principal and the superintendent, do I want to fight this battle? Do I want to die on this hill? Or is this all the ammo I need to get the heck out, to make the life changes I need to make because I can't do this anymore? I don't know. Only you can decide that, do I need this as ammo to run for school board? Do I need this as ammo to file a lawsuit? I don't know, whatever floats your boat, but you're going to have to decide that for yourself. And then this is so important. This same Tolly Saltz gave emotional testimony at a trial denying she knew about a teacher's sexual abuse of a child. Denying that she knew. So why don't we take a gander at this this is the transcript. This is the transcript. Now, tomorrow, when I have time to upload all this to Subscribestar and Patreon, which, so you guys can rewatch without ads or whatever. If you're watching this on the replay, it will be there without ads. But I will put anything that is like, I can put up there with a link, or, that'll all be there because that's a lot of work. So I'm going to put that over there. So she's on the stand and reading through this. She's asked about the student, and she actually talks about how the student flirted with the accused and basically flirted with everybody. So inappropriate behavior, but she's like, well, I just, thought she did that with everybody. And she's actually talking about, like, she's acting like, I didn't know, nothing suspicious. Let's face it. In our gut, we know she didn't have a problem covering it up because she thought the student asked for it. That's, in a nutshell, that's how I read it. You go, your mileage may vary. But, she's crying and she's not answering the questions. And, I didn't know. And what was me? And I should have known. But then you read her statements and you're like, you're so broken up about it, but you didn't do anything at the time when you saw the strange, inappropriate behavior from the student to the teacher and the teacher to the student. So she's a winner. So you definitely need to follow these people. And I mean, go read through it. Salt says that Sarah Campbell, then Nathan's wife, told her that Jane Doe had been sexually abused by another teacher in the school year, and that's why her husband was counseling Doe. Salt says that Sarah told her about this accusation because Sarah was trying to figure out, is he a lying bastard or is she? She being, I guess, the student. And she heard about the cover story. She believed it to be false, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, she had to testify. This is getting to be more common than you know. And you have to start to ask yourself, should these teachers maybe be paying a little more attention to their students and less to their social justice and their values propagating? So that's her. She's a peach. Moving on. I wanted to talk to you about, we've gone through the Rethinking Schools. If you are not on Twitter, you didn't see this. Beanie posted this. Do you see this book, Beyond the Gender Binary? This guy, Alec Vade Menon. Okay. These books are in schools, school libraries, and schools all over the country. You need to check for them. It's called the Pocket Change Collective, whatever. But what's important to note about this person is okay, here it is. Alec, this is Susie put this up, who tweeted, "Little girls are kinky," and credits his own liberation to his childhood sex with adults. And there's a children's book. It's in most elementary school libraries. So I wanted to raise this to your attention in the dispatch. And that's along with all the other charming titles. All these other charming titles here. Continuum. This, I guess, is another gender book. Elementary school, in case you were wondering. Here's this person. Here it is. Yeah. These days, the narrative is that transgender people will come into bathrooms and abuse little girls. Now, I've heard that's never going to happen. That's not true. Of course, we all know it does happen, but regardless, the supposed purity of the victims has remained stagnant. The supposed purity of the victims. So anytime you see the children, the drag shows, whatever, think of this mindset. He's not alone. A lot of people are justifying the teaching of this material, the showing of this material, drag queen story hour, by alleging that children are sexual. This is a Kinsey thing. It's not true. Not true. That children are sexual, that they've been sexual since they were infants, and that parents who are trying to protect them are just denying reality. There are no princesses. Little girls are also kinky. Your kids aren't as straight and narrow as you think. How do you feel about that? Okay. Scarlett posted this stuff today. If you haven't seen it, we have the CRT summer school stuff. There are some... The conservative focus on education as the site of the manufactured moral panic on CRT is a page out of the 19th century playbook. No, you know it's a page out of the 19th century playbook? The notion that white supremacists like the KKK are running the country. the moral panic over we've got to create affinity spaces and resegregate everything and go to some kind of other supremacy to fight the supremacy we claim never ended. That seems very regressive to me. But then they go on to say, first, it's a moral panic. It's all this manufactured moral panic on CRT. CRT is both a prism and a practice. We're not doing it, but we're doing it. Thinking of CRT in this way, not the other way, not the right winger way, just this way. This way's okay, that way's bad. As a framework for knowing, There's either knowing or not knowing. There's not a framework for knowing. And an impetus for doing opens up new opportunities, not only for understanding deployments of racial power. Again, premise that we have not agreed on as the American people. We never voted on that. We never said there's some kind of deployment of racial power going on. This is their assertion. But for recognizing the everyday impacts in order to generate collective responses. What's a collective response? Oh, that's right. It's a riot. It's a protest. What other kinds of collective responses are there? Even when you go to vote, you vote alone. Panelists will then demonstrate how CRT can be mobilized, but we're not doing it, but we are. But we're mobilizing, but we're not doing it. It's a practice. It's a mindset. It's a prism. It's a moral panic. Please make up your mind. Disinformation campaigns against CRT. Sorry. It's like there's gaslighting and then there's sort of multiple personality disorder. And that's what this feels like. Disinformation campaigns against CRT and other forms of anti-racist and intersectional education, is that what we're calling it now, claim to be representing the majoritarian interests of parents, voters, and even students because they are. Because they are. They insist they are protecting those groups from unscrupulous educators who politicize education by teaching divisive concepts that undermine learning, generate friction, and encourage white students to see themselves as villains and students of color to see themselves as victims. Every day in my inbox, not exaggerating, I get a story from a parent about a child, and it's almost always a boy, which is part of why I want to do Year of the Boy, talking about how they want to know why it's so bad to be white. Why are white people so bad? What, like I don't want to be a white person anymore. I don't want to be a boy anymore. I mean, like they're saying these things out loud. They're not imagining it. It's happening. We just saw a story last week of 3 teenage girls got on a bus in New York City. Black girls, white woman my age is sitting there on the bus. They go up and say, I hate white people. I hate white people's skin. And then they pass a cemetery and one of the girls says, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to bury you right there. And then I don't know why this woman did this, but I'm not blaming the victim. I just, at this point, I would have just probably gotten up and tried to walk away, or I tried to distance myself if I possibly could, or I don't know what I would do. Unless I was armed, in which case, well, they said, I hate your white skin, whatever, I'm going to kill you. I bet you like Trump. And the woman said, yes, I do. Or I love him or something. At which point they cleaved her head. I mean, they beat her so badly she needed staples in her head. Staples in her head. After this whole, so the girls, thankfully, are being brought up on hate crime charges. But I'm sure, no, it's not divisive at all to talk about deployment of racial power, white privilege, etc., white people this and whiteness and injustice everywhere and fist in the air, we got to liberate ourselves. No, it's not divisive. No, why would that be divisive? I don't understand. What are you talking about? Not in the slightest. No. Free teaching truth to power. Drawing on the history of Freedom Summer, the African American Policy Forum launches Critical Race Theory Summer School. But we're not teaching it, but we are. We have a summer school for teachers and students, by the way. This summer school was also available to high school students and college students. This was not just for teachers. Next week, in the face of a rapidly advancing assault on racial justice, guys, any disagreement, anyone saying we don't want this in our public schools, we disagree with you, equals assault. Remember we talked at the beginning? Violence, assault, attacking. That's how they frame it. That's how they make you the bad guy. I disagree with you. You're assaulting me. I don't think this is a good idea. You're attacking me. It's very juvenile. And then if you think about it, if people are going to be that juvenile and they go into the classroom, what habits are they teaching your children about how to deal with disagreement? If that's the way the adults handle it, it's a moral panic, it's this, it's that. Not thoughtful. Okay, teach children the truth. Which one would that be? Oh, that's right. Her truth is the truth. This woman had the fire this time has school principals and leadership respond to CRT, but we're not teaching it, but we are teaching it. We respond to it, the leadership. Okay, but we're not doing it. Last Friday, we had an opportunity to spotlight scholarship and service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, centering possibility in Black education. You guys, this fall, start looking for terms that reframe CRT to things like centering opportunity, centering possibility, uplifting Black lives, centering Black lives, liberating Black. It's all the same thing. Same thing. You have to be your authentic self, unapologetic. These are words that you're going to hear a lot. Okay. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. But Scarlett's on the ball. Scarlett's on the job. So she's got it covered. This was that same policy forum put this out. This is charming. White, sometimes suburban women are being recruited into the anti-CRT work and also seem to be its spokespersons. Is that bad? I mean, oh noes. White suburban women and Black suburban women and Black urban women and white urban women and white rural women and Black rural women. I mean, like, they get to recruit people into the pro CRT work. But if you oppose them, this is somehow bad. This is recruiting to oppose them is bad. Activism on the other side is bad. No, it's not. Don't be intimidated. I'm hoping you can start out by talking about how you read and understand those dynamics. Oh, I don't know. What does that mean? They want to make it all about white people opposing them so they can continue to maintain that the only people who oppose them are racist, when we know full well it is not only white people who oppose them, not by a long shot. And then this is something I'm going to go over next week, so I'm not going to touch it now. It's about PTA and SEL. So we were trying to stay in the race stuff tonight. The last thing I wanted to show you was the Sesame Street thing. I hope this plays. I'm going to get a copyright ding for this, but here we go.
What does it take for us to be upstanders? An upstander is a person who speaks and acts kind. No matter who you are, they'll do what's right. Using their voices to help people who are treated unfairly. Upstanders are all around and they're easy to find. So let's all be. We'll show you how to do it. Yeah. You should treat others how they want to be treated.
I don't know if you guys caught that. Did you catch it? You should treat others as they want to be treated. You should treat others as they want to be treated. I cannot emphasize this enough, how messed up that is. That is weaponized empathy. The old rule was do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, right? So it's, you're going to treat people yes, it is a second step lesson. Thank you, Coddle this. And they've now put it onto Sesame Street where it could be consumed by every kid watching Sesame Street, but also in the classroom. When you say treat others as they want to be treated, that lesson taught early and then often is where you get things like, you're microaggressing me. You need to validate me. You need to use my pronouns. You didn't use my pronouns. You need to be thrown out of school. You need to be suspended. That's violence because you didn't treat me the way I want to be treated. Oh, by the way, I'm going to change my pronouns an hour from now. I'm going to change how I want to be treated tomorrow. I'm going to change today I'm a girl, tomorrow I'm a boy, the next day I'm a cat. I mean, where does it end? And I'm being extreme. What about the less extreme? What about just the less extreme of like, you need to be my friend? What? This happened to my daughter when she was 10. Why wouldn't you be my friend? I'm going to go to the counselor. She won't be my friend. You need to be his friend. We're all friends here. He wants you to be his friend. Therefore, you have to be his friend. What happened to boundaries? Treating others the way they want to be treated erases your personal boundaries. And this is why I get so fired up about SEL. That's what SEL is trying to do. Toxic boundaries. You need to have empathy. except then nobody has empathy. You can't have empathy on demand. You can't do it. Somebody demanding empathy from you, they're going to get an act. It's cosplay. You know, I'm going to get punished if I don't act like I care. So, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And then they walk away going, oh my God. All right. They don't really care. They just know if I don't perform caring, I'm going to get in trouble. But if I want to bully somebody, I'll demand caring. It's weaponized empathy. It's not real empathy. But let's continue because it gets better.
Respect, yeah, everybody needs it. It's not easy to do, but you can do it too. We are not afraid. We will let you know what you did's not fair.
We're not afraid. We will let you know. We will let you know what you did is not fair. Oh, gee, thanks. Does that sound like cancel mob to you? Little junior cancel mob? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Who's we? We'll let you know that what you did is unfair by whose definition? Who gets to decide? Who gets to decide?
Saying no, upstander. No matter who you are, they'll do us right. Upstander. Everyone is special in their own way.
Everyone is special in their own way. Maybe to their parents. But I mean, that's another thing. It's like everyone is not special. No. I mean, to their parents they are. To themselves they should be. But to the world outside, no, they're not. I'm sorry. I'm just saying what we all know to be true.
Show love and kindness today. Let's all be fair and stand up for our friends because we care. Upstander. It's someone who cheers you on. If you agree, sing the Upstander song. That's how we do it. We'll show you how to do it. Yeah. You should treat others how they want to be treated. Love and respect, yeah, everybody needs it. It's not easy to do, but you can do it too. We are not afraid. We will let you know.
So you get it. And I feel sort of weird criticizing this because it's like 50% of the message is fine. Of course, it's nice to stick up for other people if you see something that's wrong. But wouldn't it be good to teach your kids to also be careful about that? It's not always safe. I mean, I've seen kids do that in the park and get beat up. So, I mean, first order of business is protect yourself, right? I mean, you should have boundaries and you should be the judge of whether this is like I said, is this a battle I want to fight? Pick your battles is also a worthwhile lesson. Sticking up for other people is important when you can, but make sure you do it safely and make sure you do it in a way that is, like I said, you make sure you're respecting your boundaries and the boundaries of other people. We'll let you know is too open. It's just too wide open. Other people should be treated the way they want to be treated. No, they shouldn't. That's not your job. So it's the framing, it's the way they do it that is so other-centric. There's no room anymore for the individual. That's why I have a problem with it. But otherwise, like, yeah, I mean, it's nice to share. It's nice to stick up for your friends, all that. There's nothing wrong with that. They just could have left out that other stuff, is my point. So I have kept you guys here for a really long time. I had a guess that it was going to be pretty long, but it's gone longer than I thought. So I haven't even looked. I'm so sorry. There's so many points here that are probably really, really worth going through. But yeah, all of the critical theory subjects are essential because they don't require facts. They specifically say the emphasis on storytelling. Very true. So you'll notice in a lot of things I showed you tonight, it's a lot about storytelling. It's a lot about, that kind of stuff. There's stuff I didn't get to today, by the way, that I'm going to have to bring you next week. I didn't even get to the stuff about the private Episcopal schools and things that are going on there because of all this. So I got more. There's just more every week. I get more and more and more and more and more. Let's see. What does this say? I'm sorry, blacks are a plague in our society. They take our freedom away. What? No. Disagree. That's what we don't want. We don't want to get to this point where because of one thing that is regressive and hateful, there's a backlash the other way. No, we don't do that. We absolutely don't want to do that. This is a really good point. David points out that Black women who vote Democrat have been the largest first-time buyers of firearms for the past 2 years. Self-defense. Yeah, you defund the police in neighborhoods that have violence, people will need firearms. Yeah, so and then this is, as opposed to a bystander, it's compelled action. Yes, that is the framing that I'm objecting to. Being an upstander is a nice idea, but it's really it's a tough one because it can be very dangerous. And I don't think we want to be teaching our kids that they have an obligation to act in every single situation where somebody's being bullied. They're kids. That's probably not the best way to go. There are other things they can do. And yes, kids are weaponizing this. Every single day it happened to my kid multiple times. 2 of my kids actually. Just an Average Man says, I saw a very interesting article possibly leading to large youth female transgender movement. Had to do with boys being considered the geniuses and girls can gain acceptance and acknowledgement. That's interesting. I'd like to read that because more often than not, schools are geared towards saying how wonderful girls are all the time and making boys feel kind of stupid. And especially if the boys have ADD or they're not, necessarily, they're sort of not the smartest kid in the class. They're smart, but they're not, the academic whiz kid. They are more overtly made to feel stupid than the girls by the way the teachers talk to them, almost like we're going to take you down a peg. So then I've heard that what is more likely motivating the girls with the ROGD is that they're gender nonconforming in the first place. So they're tomboys or they've got Asperger's. So they're a little more flat affect or they're a little less effusive or social, pro-social. And so they already feel a little different. And that manifests in what are sort of stereotypically more masculine temperaments. And then somebody helpfully comes along and says, maybe they're really a boy. And because they feel uncomfortable and it sounds sort of logical, and there's a flag and there's pins and there's swag and there's a club and there's acceptance and celebration and everything. It's sort of a shortcut to feeling okay about yourself when you otherwise feel awkward and terrible. So that might be feeding into it. Another thing that might be feeding into it is that if you don't have any other victim points, like let's say you're still, average white girl, you don't have any victim points and you can't really get them any other way than saying suddenly I'm non-binary, I'm trans, I'm whatever, something else, that instantly gets you on that intersectional scale with some points on the oppression scale. And you now fit in, you have a ready-made sort of club that you belong to. And the problem is when you go from being socially transitioned to medically transitioned, and there's, a lot of face saving that might go into saying, okay, I'm going to go all the way with it. They kind of talk themselves into believing it or go down the Tumblr rabbit hole or get full on into the clubs and they just go down that path. I'm already there. I'm going to keep going. And then wake up one day and realize that wasn't really who they were. So what says this is prepping them to be compelled to take actions their boundaries. Yeah. For comfort. Yes. What is that called? I don't know what that's called. Social awareness is good. Letting someone know they displayed wrong behavior could be important. I agree. And that's why I'm torn because I think it's age dependent. I think it's situational. I think the problem with making it a blanket statement, like be an upstander with kids who are little elementary school kids, is it might be a little too general. I don't know that we're teaching discernment. I think we should start with teaching personal boundaries and how they have individual right to protect their personal boundaries themselves. First person you should upstand for is yourself, right? And there are many ways to do that without words. There are ways of carrying yourself. There are ways of, we teach people how to treat us. So there are ways of just carrying yourself, ways of speaking, ways of politely defending your boundaries that then help create more protection for you from bullies that might approach you, because bullies have a tendency to approach people who seem vulnerable. And so if you teach a child how to be less vulnerable without being cold or, nasty, then they have some kind of, it's one layer of defense. So upstand for yourself first and foremost. And then, we go to the next layer, friends, other classmates, associates, whatever, but teaching them incrementally how to discern when is it a time to now I need an adult. We don't want kids putting themselves at risk. If you're just out in the playground or the park and you don't know the kid that cut in line, that could be a problem. Hey, you cut in line, could end up with a punch in the face. So we don't all have the same standards, and that's why I just don't know that we want to put kids in that position where they could get themselves really hurt when it's just a line, it's just it's just slides. I'm not saying let kids walk all over you, but there's also value in letting things go. Certain small things, just deciding not that important, right? Not because you want to let that kid get away with it, but because it's probably the better part of valor to not make a stink about it. So in that situation, what you could do, like they seem to know each other. So maybe that's okay. But like I said, you're on in the park, you don't know the kid at all. And they cut in line. That might be a time you go to the kid in the back or you say to your friends like, that sucked. They shouldn't have cut like that. Right? And then you're all commiserating or whatever. And you guys, sharing how that was kind of stinky. They shouldn't have done that. If you want to do something, if you don't feel comfortable saying anything. I don't want kids made to feel like you're a bad person or you did something wrong because you didn't stop that kid from cutting a line. You may not be able to stop them. And then now there's a fight. So we have too many fights on our campuses already, and I don't think it's necessary. Let's see. Historical Genius Boys stories. I'm not familiar with it, like at all. So anyway, that's Bill Gates with horns. I just saw it. I just noticed it. Yeah. So that's this week's dispatch. I said it was a lot. I warned you. I told you it was a lot of stuff. And there was more. Like I said, I didn't get to everything because having to bounce around to all the screens. But this is basically what it is. So if you do nothing else after this show, I hope you will make a beeline for social media. And if you're not already on Twitter and you say, I don't want to join Twitter, Dub, do I have to be on Twitter? Yeah, you kind of do. I mean, if you want to really know what your kids' teachers are talking about, I'm not going to encourage anyone to go on TikTok because I don't want TikTok on my phone. And I certainly wouldn't blame you for not wanting it on your phone. But Twitter and Facebook are where they go. And you should probably follow them, even if it's a top secret account that's not your name and it's a picture of, your favorite plant or, or Bill Gates with devil horns. I mean, that they might be onto you if you do that, but just create an account to just watch to see what's going on. Okay. And yes, you do have to follow, because if you don't follow, very many of them make their tweets only visible to people who follow them. And so then you might have people saying, why are you following this person? Why are you following that? Why are you following, Randy Weingarten? People ask me, why are you following Randy Weingarten? I'm like, I have to follow Randy Weingarten. How else am I going to know what Randy Weingarten's up to? So it's like a hazard of the job. Well, it's a hazard of the job of parenting that you're going to have a feed with some stuff. Now, pro tip, create a list. Twitter has these things called lists. And in the list, you put the teachers or whatever you want to call them. Okay. Give them a name. Give your list like a fun name, whatever. Make it a list. You can have the list not be public or put public or whatever, meaning like other people can see that you have the list. That's up to you. But you can put it in there so that you can at least sequester the feed. You can have the feed where like it's all in one place that can go in. So if you don't want to spend your day on Twitter, like going, what's going on? I got all this other junk and ads and everything. Just go to your list of those people that you decided to follow to keep tabs on them and go, what are they up to today? Okay, moving on. And then go on with your day. I'm not suggesting you become a Twitter feed. I'm saying that you need to create yourself a little news feed to keep tabs on these people. It's just what you have to do. Goes right up there with you have to go through those Chromebooks. And don't take error message for an answer. Like you go into the school, like I said, that I keep getting this error message that I can't log in. I don't have a login. Why don't I have a login? Can I get a login to my kid's stuff? Can I do that? And the problem is they might give you one that's like a parent login that doesn't give you the access to see what they see. So you and your kid have to sit down and have a conversation of whatever your password is and your login. I need it. Give it over. They have to, and don't take no for an answer. Just no. I have to see what you see. It's that simple. Just like you would say about their phone. Do you really want them having conversations with other adults, their teachers, even their peers that you can't see? Because that's what happens. And you need to see the history and stuff that's on there, and don't let them put any apps on their phone from the school. Don't, all this. We could have a whole show on just the technology. But the point of Dissident Dispatch is to show you the treasure trove that you will find when you do this. You don't necessarily need me to do it for you, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. Anyway, yes, lurking. Yes. And this Just an Average Man says, just start a second Facebook account, business or something, a link to the separate Twitter account, and use those to follow teachers. Exactly. It keeps a firewall between them and you socially. Excellent idea. So you said that your DEIB, oh, they added belonging already. Oh, joy. Has blocked you on Twitter. How did they figure out you were there but when you were silent, or did you retweet and comment and stuff? Because it's going to be really important, guys, for you. So you know what I'm going to suggest to you, but I'm not going to do it on an open mic. But it's going to be important for you to just not engage. Don't engage with them on Twitter. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to gather material, gather intel, gather information. They're doing it to you. Maybe not you personally, the parent. They're doing it to Moms for Liberty. They're doing it to Moms for America. They're doing it for Parents Defending Ed. They're keeping tabs on all of these organizations. They are, I can almost guarantee, when they get a class list this fall, they're going to take the last names, or they're going to take the parents. They're going to take those enrollment forms, and they're going to go out and they're going to go to social media and see if they can find you. That's why I can't be in your name. Okay. They're going to try to, if you ever have a question of them before the meeting, they're going to try to find you. Right. So just word to the wise. If your kids go to public school, your social media presence that covers anything to do with politics, anything to do with education, needs to be absolutely anonymous. You cannot connect it to your child's last name. I cannot stress that enough. You would like to think they wouldn't do that, but they do it. And you would like to think they wouldn't take it out on your kid, but they do. So, word to the wise. All righty. I think that's about it for me. I'm about done for the day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Like I said, I will have this up tomorrow on Patreon and subscribe star behind the paywall. I always appreciate any support that my subscribers on either platform can give me. I do have a Substack. I also put things out there. They're a little bit different. It's a little bit different content, but this work is, I don't have dark money behind me. If I do, it's so dark I can't see it. And so your support is greatly appreciated. Anything you can do, and the likes and the comments help. They feed the algorithm. They get people here. So do the shares. So does all of it, the subscribing, all of that. Okay. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you back here next week. Bye-bye.